Should we just do roll call for the nursing practice committee,
We can.
just as a reminder, since that's what we're going into?
Okay. Well, why don't we do roll call for that? Betty? Ovita?
Jovita's here.
Thank you. Mary?
Mary Fagan here.
And I'm here. All right. Welcome back, everybody, from your very quick lunch. Betty?
We're going to be going into the nursing practice committee meeting right now. And the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. People have reviewed them, and let's vote on whether we should accept the meeting minutes as they are. And yes, we should accept them as they are.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from January 13th. It's Mary Fagan.
I second it. This is Dolores.
Betty accepts it. We have one other person.
Ovita?
Jovita accepts.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
All right. And let's see. Can we go right into the advisory committee updates? Do we have to go to?
Public comment, and then we'll do the motion on that because it is an agenda item.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Lori.
we need to go to see if there's any public comment at this time, please.
Public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Woods, there are no public requests for comments. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. All right, let's go to 7.3 then. These are the advisory committee updates. Now, are we having nurses from those particular committees doing their updates, or are you going to do it, Lori?
I will be doing it for the committee meetings as to not take away from their clinic time, but for the board meeting, when we do updates, those will be, we will attempt to get the chairs to be able to present for those. So I will take over this right now. We did have both the Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee and the Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee met on February 8th. So I will give the update on what was discussed. So I'll do the Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee first. They did talk about setting dates for future, meetings because that wasn't complete in the last one. So the dates have been set for the 2022. Additionally, another agenda item was to discuss the renaming of the conventions. We kind of talked about that, I believe, at the last board meeting as well. And then you guys voted on it. And that was to not have a naming convention, that they would be referred to as nurse practitioners for any of the categories, and that we would just update that to our license lookup so that employers would know what capacity they would work in. And then they had continued conversation on disciplinary action against nurse practitioners and how they would go about that. And they are interested in revising specific sections of the disciplinary guidelines. And then we talked about the fee analysis for the 104. And then we did request authority for the 103s as well. And that should be going into AB 852 as a cleanup bill. And then there was an information only that was put in through OPES, gave a report on where they were so far in the review process to see if an examination is needed as part of the transition of practice. I have been updated from OPES that we're not intending to renew their contract. And so they're hoping that they will have all of the work done before the contract renewal is needed. And of course, if we had to renew it, we would, but OPES believes that they should have their work finished up prior to that. And that is pretty much the extent of the board nurse practitioner advisory committee for NPAC. Did you have any questions on that, Betty, before I update on the nurse midwife advisory committee?
I don't off the top of my head, but perhaps other people on the committee might.
Okay.
Anybody have questions over this section? The NPAC?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, great.
Let's go on then to the Nurse Midwifery Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Yes, so for the Nurse Midwifery Advisory Committee, their agenda kind of followed similar to that. They did talk about, they didn't follow similar, I'm so sorry. They talked about establishing a mission statement to align goals. The chair really thought that that'd be important to have a mission statement that she's used to working off of that so that they have a focus for this year. They did have some updates that they discussed for the nurse, our website. One of the things within our website is there are some forums on there that kind of put everything together, but they don't get updated when regulation gets updated or statute gets addressed. So the goal is that we will update and link specific to the regulation and statute versus linking to a form. And so that will be updated. They did some review of some FAQ language that will be going up on our website as well. And then there was a robust discussion around the California Department of Public Health screening information system. And right now they're using the MedBoard technology through what's called Ideal to verify that they are a provider and that they would have access to that. And that is hoping to be implemented by May. And that our CNMs and our nurse practitioners will have access to that without having to be delegated in from a provider. And that was pretty much the extent of our Nurse Midwifery Advisory Committee that took place on February 8th. Is there any additional questions or comments from you, Betty, or anybody on the committee?
I don't have any right now. Anybody
Okay, that is information only, so we wouldn't need a vote or a motion, but we should go out to public comment.
Let's go out to public comment, please.
Public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired and will move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment."
Reza, a quick question. We missed public comment around the meeting minute. Can we take that combined with this, or should we open up a second time to capture that?
The way I kind of interpreted it, we did public comment on the
Okay.
minutes, but we kind of rolled through public comment for items not on the agenda, 7.2.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry.
So if you want to combine any of the next public comment periods, open it up for comment on the agenda item and anything else that may not be on the agenda. That's fine.
Thank you. Mark, if we find out if anybody has joined or not, can we open it back up for public comment for 7.2 items not on the agenda?
Sure. So right now, there are no requests for the current agenda item.
Okay.
Did we want to close it and then reopen it, or did you want to just go from here?
If you can just make your spiel and put it out there that we're now having this open for item 7.2.
Okay. We will be opening comments for items not on the agenda for agenda item 7.2. The question and answer feature is still open, so please submit. I would like to make a comment if you would like to make a comment.
Thank you for doing that on the fly, Mark. I appreciate that.
Committee Chair Woods, we have no public requests for both items open for public comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you. So we can go on to 7.4, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the composition of the Advanced Practice Registered Nursing Advisory Committee. And Lori, are you going to be taking on this?
Yes, I will present all items under the practice committee for you today, Betty. So 7.4, we brought the APRN committee. That is a committee that is not in statute, similar to our NEWAC committee. That comes forward in front of our board for continuation and potential redirection on an annual basis now. And so in November, the board voted to change the focus of the APRN committee to focus on items for CNSs and items for CRNAs. And so currently the makeup of the committee was 4 NPs, and we are no longer doing the focus for NPs because there is a nurse practitioner advisory committee. So the request is to bring it down to 2 NPs to be in alignment with 2 CRNAs, 2 CNSs, and 2 CNMs. And so it would bring that into alignment. One item that was missed in the charter that we will get to as well is the addition of 1 public member. We do have a public member on the Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee. We have a public member on the Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee. We have public members in our board, and we have public members as part of NEWAC. And so the ask is to decrease down to 2 NPs and to add a public member. And so that is where we're at for the APRN committee now that it has a new focus.
Now, the members of the committee, were they in this discussion also?
Some of the members of the committee are part of it. The APRN committee doesn't meet under this new direction until April. So we have to establish it. We have to bring it forward. We have to develop a charter that happens from our board and then is put forward to the APRN committee. So the chart is on our website, and the charter is on our website as well.
Do you want to do the NMAC one?
I didn't understand what you were saying, Betty.
Okay, this is the complete your report of this right now. Is that
It
correct?
is, yes. Our board voted in November to change the focus to focus on CNS and CRNA issues. And so there is currently no need to have 4 nurse practitioners. We do still want nurse practitioner representation. So we're asking to go down to 2 nurse practitioners, which would be in alignment with all of the other specialties. It would be equal representation.
And Lori, as I understand it, it was also for this committee would be responsible for things that are across all of the different advanced.
Correct, which is why we're maintaining a nurse midwife representation of 2 and asking to maintain a nurse practitioner representation of 2 so that they would equal representation. Because currently there's 4 NPs. Excuse me.
So Lori, do you want us to approve or not approve this at this particular moment?
If you want to, we can progress the slide marked on 7.4. Can that be moved forward? There's a possible motion. That possible motion, Betty, for you would be motion to accept the revised composition for the APRN Advisory Committee.
Yes, that would be it.
Great, thank you. So
Mary,
if you
I'll
want to
second.
make that motion, we need a second. And so, but Betty, you did them first, and
I'll make the motion. Need a second.
that was Mary,
Yeah,
correct?
Mary.
Okay,
Thank you, Mary.
so we have a first and a second. We can go out to public comment.
For clarification, this is Reza. The revised composition is with a total 2 NP members.
Instead of 4 and an
So-
addition of 1 public member.
Got it. Thank you.
Can we go to public comment? Please?
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Committee Chair Woods, there are no public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. All right, then we can go for a vote on this then.
Lori, I do have one question. Since there are currently 4 nurse practitioners on the advisory committee, what would be the process to go from 4 to 2?
Have full composition right now. And for example, Garrett Chan served as a nurse practitioner. He has changed his designation to serve as a clinical nurse specialist because he holds both designations. So we would, we have 1 vacancy right now, and we would work with the members right now to see who would stay and who would not. And that would be put out to them first. And then any vacancies we would fill as they come up.
And if everyone wants to stay on, then what's the next step?
So the next step is with agenda item 7.4, where we talk about the charter and how we will put everybody in, because the way that it occurred right now, almost everybody terms out in October.
Okay.
So that will be handled on agenda item 7.5.
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept this, the composition change essentially of the Advanced Practice Registered Nurse Advisory Committee.
I second your motion, Betty.
Yes. Woods votes yes.
Trujillo votes yes.
Mary Fagan, yes.
Jovita.
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
All right.
Thank you. So we're going on now to 7.5.
So agenda item 7.5, there are 4 charters that are in front of you guys. As part of the materials, we have an Advanced Practice Registered Nurse Advisory Committee charter. We have a Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee charter, a Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee charter, and the Nursing Practice Board Committee charter. And so those 4 charters are in front of you, and I'll explain to you guys a little bit the differences with each. The Nurse Practice Charter is brand new. There has not been a charter for this committee that we have been able to locate. So we have aligned that with the purpose that is shared on our board, and it aligns closely with the charters that the board has already already approved for the Nurse Practice Advisory Committee and the Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee. Additionally, the Advanced Practice Advisory Committee, that charter was in alignment with when it was implemented in 2017 and did not mirror or align with the charters for the Nurse Practice and the Nurse Midwife Advisory Committees, and it had the previous focus on it. So currently, the APRN committee has been rewritten to match the charters of the Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee and the Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee. They're all in alignment now, and they all report out to the practice committee that now has a charter that has been developed to receive the report outs from all of those and serve as kind of a clearly defined committee. The other thing that I want to address in here are term limits. And so in our business and profession code, when our board was sunrise, however you want to put that, back in, I believe, 2012, they wanted to address all of the board members coming in, and thank you, Reza, for pointing this out to us because we were kind of at a loss on how to manage this. All of our board members, if we would have all joined at the very same time, would have termed out at the very same time for everybody. So in our business profession code, they put in members and then put different term out dates for the initial kind of organization of the committees. So with Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee, you guys are very aware that we started it last year and everybody kind of termed in at the same time, but we didn't have a staggered expiration for some of the term members so that we can stagger them in, keep some institutional knowledge, and allow for them to mentor new members that come in. So we've adjusted the charters to reflect the ability for people to term out sooner for this initial process, and some term out a little longer for this initial process, so that we can then have a staggered group. So that is what the only changes that we've made to the Nurse Midwife and the Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee. Because of the APRN committee change in the structure that was just voted in, we would put this out. We would appoint any new members of the people that did not want to continue or would start up in October when the majority of all of the APRN committee members term out. They weren't implemented with a staggered expiration date. So we will have, if this is not passed, a brand new APRN committee without any institutional knowledge or experience as being part of the APRN. So we addressed that in the APRN charter and aligned it with the Nurse Practitioner and Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee to have various expiration dates on terms for the initial go around, and then that will allow them to kind of term in and turn out at different dates. Because as it is right now, the majority will term out October. And then you can see that the Nurse Practice Committee, which is a board committee, is now has a charter, and we can put that forth. I did want to put forward, based on the vote that just occurred in 7.4, we do have to have a minor change to the APRN charter, and that would address the terms of the nurse practice, the nurse practitioners within that, because now we have the official number of 2. And then we will address the addition of the public member, because we didn't want to put it in to the charter if it didn't pass. And so we will address that and add that into the charter. So if you did vote to accept all the charters, and so if we can progress the slide to what a motion would be. Please, board moderator.
I have
The
a question
motion
before-
here, yeah, so just real quick on that motion, we would add, that it's not up there, that you would give the, admin committee or, that we would bring an updated, charter forward to the board to reflect the changes that we would have to add for right now, because this is a committee meeting.
Lori, I have a question.
Yes.
Under the meetings, the NPC shall meet a minimum of once a quarter and as often as necessary to carry out its assigned tasks. Who will make the decision if they are to have extra meetings or not?
The board.
Okay. That's my question.
Okay, so
have-
if
I have a question about the NPC charter.
the Nurse Practitioner Advisory Committee charter?
No, the nursing practice committee, the new one.
Okay,
for-
the nurse
for us.
practice, sorry, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a statement in here for to advise the board relating to nursing practice, including common nursing practice issues, such as the rights of the registered nurse and the patient in communicable disease cases. I'm not sure I know what that means.
Let me ask on that really quick. That might have been a mistype. We tried to pull from several charters that we already had. Give me 1 second here. Reza, do you have any input on that? I didn't catch that one when I reviewed.
I don't. I'm looking at it though at the same time as you.
I'm still not clear of looking at these charters about how all these committees are aligned. And is it that the nursing practice committee is, the others report to it and then to the board? Because I don't think we've ever had any presentation from NEWAC there. We have had from the nurse practitioner and the nurse midwife, but also not from the APRN committee. Is that the intent if you were to draw a diagram of how they relate to each other?
So yes and no. So let me clarify some of those questions. We do report out from APRN and NEWAC to the practice committee when there are motions that say this goes to practice committee. If they don't make a motion to bring it to the practice committee or don't make a motion to go to board, then it's a discussion that's information only, that's just amongst that committee. The other thing is, since you came on as a board member, Mary, we have not held a NEWAC committee. The NEWAC committee is comprised of nurse educators, practicing nurses, etc. And that was right during COVID, and they had focused on that versus coming in and doing this. That was where their attention was directed. So now that in November, we brought the NEWAC committee forward, got approval for have it to run again for an additional year. There were also motions made to address 1426, et cetera, for that to go to NEWAC. And so NEWAC will be held this year. And as previously done, when they have recommendations that come out of that committee, they would go to practice. If it was something that came out that was quick and imperative and needed to go right away, and if there was a board meeting that they could go to immediately without having to go to a practice committee, it would report to the board. There is nothing in our statute that says that items have to go to a committee first before it goes to a board. That is our practice, which is going to committee first and then to board, and that just streamlines the process, but that is not a requirement. And as we could see when we kind of discussed about the upcoming calendar change that we had where committees got moved up a month to today, there may be items that did not make the education licensing committee. So they're not going to hold off on those items to make them wait until the next committee. Those items, as we get them developed, will go to May. They just will go to May without going to committee. So there's nothing that says that they have to go to committee first. But the intention is, yes, right now on our website, when you look at board committees, board committee for nurse practice, talks about being kind of the repository of all items that come towards practice, including APRNs, including all of the common or shared issues versus individual issues. And so that would go to our practice committee. This is just making an official document. We were not able to find an official document that gave our practice committee a charter. Education License Committee has more of a charter-ish thing that they use that has been more kind of set in stone, and they report out on goals and accomplishments a couple times a year. So with that, we will actually be updating Education License Committee. We'll update the Enforcement Committee and the Ledge Committee to all have charters similar to nurse practice. Nurse practice was just the first one that we've addressed so far.
And so if you were to put together like a diagram of how these committees relate to each other, what would it look like?
So each one of these committees right now, we have nurse practitioner, nurse midwife committee. Those are statutorily required, and they have a request to both report to the board, and that was part of the statute. So they do report to the board, which is why your chairs come in, and we're trying to get our chairs to report out to the board, and there's a standing agenda item on the board meeting. Those two are different than the NEWAC and the APRN committee. NEWAC and APRN committee were recommended by the legislators to carry on certain tasks previously. And so those were answers from previous sunsets. And we handle those differently because they're not in statute. Those are the ones that require to have a director, DCA director approval, and get that reviewed on an annual basis. And so those are slightly different. Nurse practitioner, nurse midwife will not come in front of the board for continuation. They will always continue. APRN and NEWAC will come forward once a year, and they will get redirected or refocused once a year, or sunset or changed depending on the needs of our board. Previously, the Nurse Education Workforce Advisory Committee were two committees. There was a Nursing Education Committee, there was a Workforce Advisory Committee. It was decided to combine them. And so that one has now been combined. That we may receive stakeholder feedback that says, yeah, we thought that combining them was perfect, but now we're asking them to be separate. And so then at that point, our board could say, you know what? You combined them, they were separate, it didn't work, now we want to separate them again. Or you may choose to look at NEWAC and say, I don't see a purpose of them anymore serving in this, I'm going to sunset them. I doubt that that would happen, but that is something that our board can do because they're not statutorily mandated. The APRN committee was established in 2017. That was to address all four of the nurse practice, advanced practice areas and bring them in. That was before the Nurse Midwife Advisory Committee had this updated statutory requirement that came with SB 1237. And that was before the NPAC was created and put into statute with the passing of AB 890. Now that those two came forward and those are now statutorily required, it changes the way that the APRN functions. Our board recognized that in November, and you guys voted that they would take a focus, a primary focus of CRNAs and CNSs, but still provide some input that affected all four of their work groups and not just individual two, as long as it didn't affect the NPAC and the NMAC. Because again, in statute, it requires that all items that affect NPAC or NPs or nurse midwives have to go through the nurse practitioner or the nurse midwife advisory committee. So we would hate to see a redundancy that goes from APRN to nurse practitioner advisory committee to practice to board. That would be a lengthy, redundant process and really not efficient in any way. So to lean that APRN, you'll see even in the April committee that it will be meeting next week. APRN committee meets next week, that their focus has absolutely changed. And it is focused primarily on CNS and CRNA issues. And so we're looking forward to next week's meeting. Now, next week's meeting will occur as the APRN, and we're hoping to have a NEWAC committee in April. And so when we have a May board meeting, we will have an agenda item on there that has reporting out of NEWAC and reporting out of APRN. If the chairs are able to attend, they will report out, same as NPAC and NMAC. If the chairs are not able to attend, I will report out in lieu of them. I'm not able to hear you, Mary, if you're speaking. It looks like you are.
Just doing this a lot.
Just doing this a lot. I do it too.
They report directly to the board and not to the nursing practice committee. The NEWAC and the APRN.
No, they are not statutorily formed, so they would report to practice committee.
Okay,
NPAC and NMAC report out, because in the statute it says they report directly to the board. They report both to nurse practice when they have chance, and just to have more accessibility, and to the board. However, we will, because we want to make sure the board stays informed, we will have standing agenda items on our board meeting for any report outs for NEWAC and APRN if they had a meeting scheduled prior to that. The difference between NPAC and NMAC, APRN and NEWAC is NPAC and NMAC meet 4 times a year, and the board meets 4 times a year. APRN and NEWAC meet 2 times a year, because again, they're not in statute. They're not a requirement that we have to meet. This is addition, and it's approved by our director of DCA. So because it goes through them, it has a different process. So there will be probably 2 meetings a year, board meetings, that you will not get an update from NEWAC or APRN because they will not have had a meeting.
I'm still having, I guess I'm sort of, I wish I had a visual of this.
I know, I'm sorry.
I mean, is that something that could be created?
We could, I could definitely create some kind of a visual and show how they're aligned for the board meeting. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for because they are 2 separate kind of pathways here. 2 of them are statute, 2 of them are non-statute.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
so they
concerned
do
about
not
the
have the
ones-
same focus.
Yeah, the ones who are statute, I'm clear on. The ones
Okay.
who are not statute is what's not clear to me.
So the 2 non-statutory committees, they meet twice a year. They come up for annual approval, and annual direction, goal setting, etc. And they report out to the practice committee.
But that just hasn't happened yet.
Yes, APRN,
I don't
they
remember.
didn't have an official charter with that, and we were waiting on them to vote to come forward. They do have items that come forward to practice, APRN does, but it's not designated as APRN is bringing this there. It's just issues identified, they're added to the agenda.
All right, you know, that,
NEWAC has not met since you've joined.
okay. So, and maybe in the future when an agenda is added that came from one of those, just to put that on the agenda so it's aware, brought forth by the
Yes.
BRN committee, that would be helpful.
We
All right,
could.
thanks. Sorry for taking so much time.
No, that's okay. Need to make it clear. If it's not clear to you, it's not clear to the public either. So
And I do think we want to clarify in the charter what practice issues we're talking about, because what's in here just doesn't really make sense to me.
I will take a look at that and have it updated before the board committee. I tried to review all 4 of them before coming in, and Reza reviewed them as well. I think we missed that question that you were bringing up. So if there's no further questions, we do need a motion. It could be a motion to defer action to the board. It could be a motion to accept the charter with the amendments that you're asking for, the clarifications you're asking for, Mary, or it could be a motion to deny.
I think I would maybe, well, I don't know. I would make a motion actually that we defer to the board so we can actually see the updated charter. Is that
The
reasonable?
updated charter for APRN. Do you want to accept NPAC, NMAC, and NEWAC, and then just work on APRN?
Not APRN, it was the Nursing Practice Committee.
Okay, so you want to accept NPAC, NMAC, and NEWAC, and APRN, but not practice,
Yeah.
correct?
That's what I'm proposing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mark, can we open up to public comment?
I'm sorry, this is Betty. I was talking and I wasn't, I was unmuted. I have a question. Mary, is the purpose that you are concerned about this is because of the communicable disease cases and the RN's ability to order lab?
I just want to be more clear, Betty, on what are the types of practice issues that we can expect to come to us. And I think the intent was to put some examples in there, but the examples don't make sense to me. So I really would like I'd like more clarity on what are the types of practice issues we can expect to have come to this committee.
The practice issues, as far as I'm concerned, can be anything. These examples here are more of practice issues, well, at least the one about ordering labs.
Well, you know what? How about this? What if we just scratch the such as, and then I would have a motion, amend my motion to say we can accept them all, except take out the such as's, and they just leave it more broad, nursing practice issues.
I'm totally okay with that. So on the practice committee, it would be a motion to accept but after removing the such as statement. On the APRN committee, it would be adding the public member and adjusting that. And then we would accept NMAC, NPAC, and NEWAC as is.
I have one more thing though in that purpose.
Yes.
I don't think we can just talk about common nursing practice issues. I think we should leave it as nursing practice issues because as we know, a lot of the things are not common.
Good point.
Okay. On our current nursing practice committee statement on our board website, it says advises the board on matters related to nursing practice. So that encompasses everything, including common nursing practice and advanced practice issues related to nurse midwife, nurse anesthetist, clinical nurse specialist, and nurse practitioner practice. So the advises boards on matters related to nursing practice really kind of encompasses everything. And then the call out that is already on our board website that we've been following says including common nursing practice and advanced practice. So are you asking to change that? And it just says advises the board on matters related to nurse practice and
Yes.
advanced practice issues?
Yes,
Okay,
because the common, there's nothing in nursing that's
I
it's
agree.
always common.
I agree. So we will make that change and it will say advises board on matters related to nurse practice and advanced practice issues related to, and then it will list those out. So we will remove the statement that says including common nursing practice.
That's my motion.
Okay. I think I got that. So Mary has a motion and Betty, or Jovita, you seconded it? Okay, so I'm going to restate what my understanding is, and that's a motion to accept the charters for NPAC, NMAC, NEWAC, accept the charter for Nurse Practice Committee, removing the such as section and the words including common nursing practice. And then on the APRN Advisory Committee, we would accept that charter as well, with the addition to the term limits for the nurse practitioners now that there are 2, and the addition of the public member. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Board moderator, we can go out to public comment.
We will be opening for public comment now. I will be activating the question and answer feature. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, I would like to make a comment. Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will, sorry, I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, I would like to make a comment. Committee Chair Woods, there are no public requests for comment. Would you like me to close this window?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so
To a vote.
back to the vote. Woods votes yes.
Yo-Yo votes yes.
Mary Fagan, yes.
Jovita Dominguez, yes.
Thank you.
It does. And your next agenda item, Betty, is adjournment. And